In this lesson, we'll be reviewing acids and bases and pH and pOH, calculating those and seeing the relationship between all four of these. You are familiar with acids. They are pH less than 7, and here's what you would find around your house. The bases are a pH greater than 7, and you have these also, things like this around the house. You know what they are. Here's the pH scale. Now, water is neutral. Anything with a pH greater than 7 is going to be a base, you see here, and pH less than 7 are acids. Those are the lemon juice and coffee, those sort of things. The acids and bases are corrosive. They react vigorously with other substances. The one thing is, because of the dissociation of ions in solution, they are electrolytes and conduct electricity. The history of pH is quite interesting and longer than this. There have been many scientists working on this, and if you're interested in the history and the theories that have come along, I have a completely separate video. Just check that out. Here I'll go over it quickly. In 1774, the French chemist Antoine Lavoisier started discussing acids as the oxygen-containing acids. In 1884, the Swedish chemist Svante Arrhenius came up with the definition of acids increasing the hydrogen ion concentration. That's the definition that we'll be using and talking about here, working with. In 1909, Soren Sorensen was the first to label a solution in the lab with the actual letters pH. And then in 1923, the Bronsted-Lowry definition came along. That's about proton transfer. And in 1923, the American chemist Lewis was talking about electron transfer and covalent bonding. So first, to look at pH, we need to talk about the self-ionization of water. Water, we know, is a polar molecule. The hydrogens align a little to one side of the molecule, making it slightly positive and slightly negative, which is a polar molecule. When they're in a solution, when you have a glass of water, all of the molecules actually align themselves. That's not actually a bond, they're just aligned that way. They align themselves so that one side, and the negative side, lines up to the more positive side, and this attraction right here is what causes the self-ionization. Sometimes this is so strong that this hydrogen can break off and jump on board over here with this water molecule, and we have a molecule now with 3 hydrogen atoms and 1 oxygen. The whole molecule is polar, and it is the hydronium ion. So when we talk about the Arrhenius definition of increasing hydrogen solution, hydrogen doesn't actually exist by itself. It bonds with the other water molecule and becomes a hydronium ion concentration. Because this hydrogen is now gone, we're left with a hydroxide ion as well. So this is what happens in solution. I've told you, I've drawn it here, and then this is the chemical equation of that occurring, and the water and water, 2 water molecules, one would break off, and this is actually in balance in solution and becomes a hydronium ion and a hydroxide ion. And so the question is, how often does this actually happen, where the hydrogen ion is broken off and becomes a hydronium ion? So we have here in pure water at 25 degrees Celsius, actually, it only happens 1 molecule in 10 million molecules. So the concentration is 1 molecule in 10 million, and that's in molar. So let's talk about then what the pH, how we come up with the pH of water of 7. And actually, because we were talking about the pH is 1 hydronium molecule times 10 to the negative 7th molar, because there's only 1 molecule in 10 million that break off. Not very many. So instead of writing this over and over, we can calculate the pH. Up here we have the equation is the negative log base 10. Here's the relationship between log base 10, and that is of the hydronium ion concentration. So this is quite easy. The log base 10 then, with just using a 1, that calculation is negative 7, pH 7. So here that's exactly how they calculate the pH of pure water. And we discussed earlier that for every hydronium ion that breaks off, and hydrogen breaks off, becomes a hydronium ion in solution, there is also one hydroxide ion left over. So in fact, the concentrations are equal because it is 1 to 1. So when we have a pH of 7 of pure water, we can also use the same calculation for pOH, because we know there is one hydronium ion for every one hydroxide ion, and that's base log 10 of the same 1.0 times 10 to the negative 7th molar, and from the calculation before, that is also 7. To find the relationship between pH and pOH, we can use the ionization constant of water, and here we see we use this as Kw, which is the ionization constant K of water W. We already talked about how the hydronium ion and the hydroxide ion are equal, 1 times 10 to the 7th and 1 times 10 to the negative 7th. When we are multiplying exponents, we add exponents, and so the hydronium ion concentration here is equal to, when we multiplied, so that's 1.0 times 10 to the negative 14th molar. And if we'll see in a minute when we calculate, if we have any two of these, we know the concentration. So if we know the concentration of either hydronium or hydroxide, then we can calculate for the concentration of the other. We'll do a quick example problem here. I have another video where I go over another longer example problem, but really quickly, how does this all work out when we want to find the pH of a 0.05 molar solution of hydrochloric acid. Hydrochloric acid is a strong acid, so we know that it's 100% ionized in water. What does that mean? That just means that every one of the ions will break apart into solution, and when hydrogens are floating around, and we discovered before that they will become bonded together with water molecules as a hydronium ion, and so we know that the pH from this equation up here is equal to the inverse log, the negative log base 10 of the hydronium ion concentration. And the concentration in solution of hydrochloric acid is, we're working with 0.05 molar. Because there is one hydrogen, this is a 1-to-1 ratio. So this is quite easy. We know that it's 0.05 molar of hydronium ions, because for every hydrochloric molecule that breaks up, there's one hydrogen that bonds with one water, and we come up with another hydronium ion. And with a quick calculation, the pH of hydrochloric acid in water at a 0.05 molar solution is 1.3. So quickly to review and sum everything up, we went over acids and bases. As acids are pH less than 7, they're acidic, and they are things like lemon juice, vinegar, milk, that sort of thing. And we also did a calculation with hydrochloric acid, finding out what the pH in solution is. And then bases are pH greater than 7. And sometimes we think of those around the house as soaps and cleaning supplies, sort of thing. There are plenty of other bases out there. We found out that the calculation for pH, the equation is pH is equal to the negative log base 10 of the hydronium ion concentration. Again, hydrogen does not exist in solution. It actually bonds and becomes the hydronium ion concentration. pOH is the negative log base 10 of the hydroxide ion concentration. We don't generally look at that, and we can know the relationship between the hydroxide ion and the hydronium ion by the ionization constant of water. K constant here is equal to the hydronium ion concentration and the hydroxide ion concentration, and that is then equal to 1.0 times 10 to the negative 14th molar squared, because we're working with 2 molar concentrations. That's molar squared. And if we know any one of these, then we can any 2 of those, then we can rearrange the equation to find the unknown. So thanks for watching about pH, and check out the videos about more sample calculations and the history.